Joining me now, Sky News contributor Kosha Garda, former Labor MP Michael Danby. Let's start with asylum seekers. This rise in bogus student visa applications, specifically from India, being used as a permanent route for migration. Michael, in the Daily Telegraph, more migration issues today. Since last year, the number of people claiming to be refugees has nearly doubled. And they've all come by plane. They've arrived as either student, work or holiday visa holders. That's a big kick along, isn't it?
I don't think most sensible Australians would think that people from India are refugees. And especially young males in their 20s. There's been a bipartisan opposition to people trying to get into this country under circumstances that we don't agree to. I think people should apply. I think there's a place for skilled migration, but I think one of the ways that we ought to deal with this is having, when they appeal, the charges should be lifted. If you're going to appeal to the federal court after being rejected by the AAT or other tribunals, then I think it's too simple. It's too inexpensive. Raise the charges.
Well, let's have the case of the Miraguppians, the Sri Lankan family. The Prime Minister is now allowed to stay. They appealed all the way, I think 7 layers of court, all the way to the High Court. The High Court said they are not refugees, but enough media pressure, and the government backed down anyway. Yeah, and to differentiate them from the problem that you've identified is the fact that they probably got a lot of, self-started funding to fund all of their legal cases, etc. So I don't think all of this increase will be able to get that sympathetic funding from other people. You don't like the decision, you get one appeal. If you lose the appeal, you go home.
Yeah, but also don't make re-appeals so cheap that people just keep doing it. The way to do it is to raise the charges.
Right, what about this email that's just gone absolutely crazy in Queensland from teachers saying that they will call children by a particular name in the classroom if the child has changed gender, but not tell the parents, and send communication from the school home to parents using the child's birth name that the parents know about. Now, what this does is it encourages the kid to stay in their new gender and not perhaps raise it with their parents, but it keeps mum and dad in the dark.
This whole issue of deconstructing identity and gender fluidity, for some reason, for many reasons, has the weight of all institutions behind it. And so sad as it is, it's almost not surprising that now we're seeing it in the K-12 classroom, because it's everywhere, from corporations to media, entertainment, higher education. But here it crosses a different line, Peta, which is, I think, what you're getting into, that it's beyond even just this issue, it's driving a wedge within the family. That is really the sinister, logical endpoint where to take this, because it is creating this independent relationship between teacher and minor child. And it just shows the scope creep of education and kind of the role of school in society and where did it get to this way. I think this one is really crossing a stark line. You're seeing a lot of pushback. Homeschooling has gone up from 2% to 11% of people pulling kids out of school for many reasons, this being one, parents getting involved in the school board, and I think it's going to require some strong leadership from the other side, which I think has been lacking.
I was just talking to Jacinta Price, and she was railing against these false Indigenous claims. But if you can just wake up one day, biologically be female and say you're a male, or biologically be male and say suddenly now you're a woman, and that's the law in Victoria, that's now the law in Queensland, why can't you just wake up one day and say that I'm Indian or I'm an Aborigine? Why can't I just do that?
Yeah, and you're seeing that. I think back home in the US they call them pretendians, so people pretending to be Indians, Native Americans, who then get extra benefits from that. So the whole thing is out of whack. If you can just be anything, it sort of, you see these conflicting things on a collision course, conflicting dynamics, and it doesn't make logical sense at all. And we'll see how it shakes out.
What's going on with EmmanuelMacron and China?
Well, the Chinese are abandoning wolf warrior diplomacy, and they're getting a conga line, I won't use Mark Latham's expression, but a conga line of statesmen from Macron through really to much lower grade people like McGowan to sort of traipse through Beijing at a time when 1.5 million Muslim Uyghurs are in concentration camps, at a time when they've suppressed Hong Kong, when they're militarily aggressive around Taiwan. What impression do you think this creates to the world, all of this conga line of people going over there? So Macron was the worst. Very pleased to see he's been widely denounced through the EU. But it's not even what they say there that counts, it's the fact that they're there, along with this conga line of other people. That's Beijing's policy.
And McGowan's comments about Andrew Hastie, that he swallowed Cold War pills, I mean, it's just not what you do as a premier or a significant leader, referencing your own country while you're sitting in
Well, this Naval Reserve officer, McGowan, reject the submarine base in West Australia in Fremantle? I bet you he won't. I mean, talk about double standards. None of these premiers have got foreign affairs advisors. Albo, please give a serious DFAT advisor to these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. They're being advised by multicultural advisors and they have no understanding of international affairs or where their remarks could lead.